We're going to move on now with a look at what's grabbing headlines around the world with Flo Villamino. Hi there.
Hi, Cap.
And we're going to start off in the Middle East, focus there. A big interview given, in fact, by the Turkish Prime Minister in the UK's Independent newspaper.
Absolutely. It's on the front page, actually, of the Independent. This alarming quote from that interview with Ahmet Davutoglu. You can see here it says that the flood of jihadi volunteers to Syria is unstoppable. Now, Turkey, of course, plays a very key role in the Syrian crisis because it shares a very long and a very porous border with Syria. The Turkish government has been accused of not doing enough to stop all these foreign fighters who are crossing from Turkey into Syria to take part in jihad there. But in this interview, the Turkish Prime Minister says that actually Turkish authorities are doing everything that they can. To quote him again, he says, "We cannot put a soldier everywhere on that 510-mile border. And in any case, there isn't a state on the other side. So little more can be done to stop the flow into Syria from Turkey."
Very interesting. Like you say, a big player in the region, another big player, Saudi Arabia.
That's right. Now, there's a very interesting article today in the Washington Post, which focuses on Saudi Arabia's legal system, actually. Of course, Saudi Arabia is a major U.S. ally in the region, but it's also in a tricky position. Now, following the lashing of the blogger Raif Badawi and then this leaked footage of the public execution of a woman who was accused of beating her daughter, Saudi Arabia's harsh interpretation of Sharia law has really come into the spotlight, and some people say that the Saudi justice system is actually quite similar to that of the Islamic State groups, and that is what the Washington Post does today. Is actually it compares the two justice systems, if you will, the legal punishments recently announced in territory occupied by the Islamic State and the corresponding punishments in Saudi Arabia. And it's true that if you look at them, they are very similar. For instance, blasphemy, homosexuality, treason, murder, all these are punishable by death. Adultery is punishable by stoning. The only difference, actually, is when it comes to slander and drinking alcohol. In territory occupied by the Islamic State group, it's punishable by 80 lashes, where it's up to the discretion of the judge in Saudi Arabia.
Gosh, it's interesting to see how very close they are on those issues. We're going to move on away from the Middle East. We're going to look at events in Germany. Now, this has made huge headlines in Germany and now beyond. We're talking about the leader of the Pegida movement, photographed pretty much dressed up as Hitler, and making some very, very controversial comments.
Absolutely. As you can imagine, it's front page news all over Germany. I just pulled out one example, the Hamburger Morgenpost, and you can actually see this very controversial photo of him. You can see Lutz Bachmann there. This says that he shows up as Hitler. Now, he has apologized on Facebook for those comments he made about refugees. He said he compared them to animals and scumbags, but he didn't mention this photo. Now, members of Pegida, and you can read about it in the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, they've tried to play down the Hitler photo as a joke, as satire. Every citizen has a right to do this. And it's interesting, there's a very interesting comment piece in Die Welt that says pretty much the same thing. It says that Germans are clearly still embarrassed by Adolf Hitler, and proof of this is this kind of periodic hysteria that flares up time and time again. People, it seems, are afraid some old ghost is going to come back.
Well, you just don't really mention Hitler.
Don't mention him, and you certainly don't make fun of him.
You don't dress up as him.
Absolutely, and this article points out that whenever that does happen, people say it's a disgrace for Germany. But this article says it actually does Germany some good to mock Adolf Hitler. It's a way of processing. It's much like someone who's afraid of flying should take the airplane. In fact, this article says that we should mock the Führer much like Charlie Hebdo. People should part their hair and wear a sign saying, "I am Adolf," because after all, according to the article, irony is history's most beautiful weapon.
A great quote to end our international press review there. I wonder what people in Germany would make of that very taboo subject. Thanks very much for now, Flo Villamino, our international press reviewer.